And so we're launching ourselves into a new week, and we are knowing that we're going into it absolutely amazingly aware of the infinite possibility that is within us, that we can unleash and live a very good life. And so today we're looking at the future, of course, which is non-existent. It's never the future for us because we're always living in the present. But however, we have to understand that the future is indeed in our own hands, and never truer words were spoken. Because the future is made out of the lumber and the bricks of today. And so whatever's going on tomorrow will be the result of what's going on today. So it is given to you and it is given to me to create for ourselves a wonderful life. All of it to be wonderful no matter what. And we do that by focusing our energies and our attention on today. And so what indeed is the lumber? What indeed are the bricks of today? Well, for us, it may be different to that which other people would perceive. For us, that lumber, the lumber of today, is the recognition and the understanding that we live according to a law of consciousness. We live according to a law of consciousness. Now that would be the lumber of today out of which we build and construct our tomorrow. Also, the second aspect of that, the bricks, if you like, the stones from which we build, is not only the recognition, which is the lumber, but the applications of the principles of the law of consciousness or the law of mind. Now, this sounds, that's interesting, I get that. But let me tell you, this is dynamite. To those of us who discover it, it's dynamite when we discover that there's this thing called the law of consciousness. And then when we apply the principles of that law, it's astounding what can happen in our lives. It's amazing. So this is a pivotal point in our lives when we recognize that law of consciousness and we start to apply the principles of that law of consciousness. This is seminal in our lives, that recognition. It's monumental. And the thing is, if our lives are not going well, if our lives are not all the time advancing us, moving us forward, it's because we're not applying the principles even though we may recognize the law. We're not applying the principles the way we could. We are not working in cooperation. We are not working in conjunction with this amazing law of mind. Because you and I are indeed the law of mind in action. Know it or not. That's what we are. We are consciousness. And consciousness is always in action. Consciousness is always on the move. So this is the stuff that tomorrow is made of. What we are doing with this consciousness that is each one of us today. And so it is given to you and it is given to me to understand that we live in our own world of consciousness. We live in our own world of consciousness, and out of that we create the circumstances, the situations, and the stuff of our lives. And so knowing that, it is given to you and it is given to me the sovereignty, the freedom, and the volition to choose wisely and well what we are going to think into mind, think into this consciousness, because out of it comes the life that we live. It is indeed done unto us as we believe. And what we believe is what we tell ourselves. And what we tell ourselves is what we project out into the world. And what we project out into the world happens. And that is why we're invited to think on things that are whole and healthy and well, things that are of good report, as Paul says. Because it is out of our thinking and our feeling that our lives are created as we know our lives to be. So this is great for us to know. It's amazing for us to know. But within this spiritual philosophy, within the spiritual teaching, is always the built-in understanding that we are self-determined, self-responsible beings, self-determined beings. Now, this sounds wonderful when we're all sitting in this room, you see. It sounds great. I can determine my life and living. I can determine my destiny through the way I think and through the way I feel. And I am indeed self-responsible. I'm responsible for my life. Who else is responsible for my life if not me? I am responsible for my life and nobody else. Now, that sounds awesome. Awesome, and it is. But it is not easy to live a self-determined, self-responsible life. We know this. All of the great ones who came amongst us, who had a wonderful response to what it was they had to share in terms of being self-determined, self-sovereign, and self-responsible, soon lost many, many of their students. And we are told that even the great master teacher Jesus, that after a time, many of his disciples backed away from him and no longer followed him. Well, of course, because self-responsibility, self-determination, self-sovereignty is very challenging, and it calls us higher, and it calls us to be the best of ourselves, and it calls us to be in connection with our essential self, that alignment, that centeredness within us. That's the only way we can do this. And so most of us would rather have something to blame or something to say, it's because of that over there, it's because of them over here, it's because the other, that's why I'm in the situation I'm in, without looking at ourselves to see that I am a self-determining individual. I have self-dominion and self-responsibility over my own life, and if I don't like it, I can change it. That's challenging, and it takes a village for us all to agree to live from that. Gentle reminders from each other to stay centered, to stay in the realization that no matter what it is, something can be done about it, and I'm the one that initiates that something, no matter what that thing is. As someone once said, I cannot do everything, but there is one thing I can do, and that one thing I can do, I should do. And I can do it. And so we're coming into this realization that, you know, there is truly, when you live according to the law of consciousness, which means living in cooperation with consciousness, with the law of life and how it works. You see, we don't work the law, although we talk about working the law. We don't work the law, no more than we work the law of gravity. I don't have to say, I'm now going to work the law of gravity so I can stand up straight and not fall on my face. I don't have to say that. I just have to be in cooperation with it. I can't just walk off the top step and hope I'm going to just land on my 2 feet, because gravity might have some other idea for me in that moment of unwise decision. And the same with the law. Why is it I don't work the law? Because I'm living in the law, I'm moving in the law, I'm having my being in the law, and it is living and moving and having its being in me. It's in the midst of me. It's in the midst of all life and living. I'm in it. It's happening. One way or another, with or without me, it's happening. It's happening, without my consent or not. So the way we use the law is to come into cooperation with it. We come into cooperation with it. That means we stop swimming against the current. We stop going against the tide. We stop making life rough by going against it. We turn around and we go with it. We go with the flow, which is so natural for us to do, although we don't realize it until we turn around and do it. Because we think that flowing against the current is the natural way for us. That's what the egoic mind thinks. It's all hard, it's all difficult, and it's supposed to be. It's just life, how it is. It's hard, it's difficult. That's what the egoic mind tells us. That's not the truth. It may be a fact, but it's not the truth. And the truth is that if I'm living in accordance with the law, I'm living in accordance with the way of divine love. I'm living an unconditional and unconditioned life in regard to myself and in regard to everyone else and every living thing. Because love is always the answer, and there is nothing enough love cannot heal, mend, fix, or turn around. When I am living according to the law of conscious being, when I become conscious consciousness and live accordingly, then I discover there is nothing impossible, there is nothing incurable, and there sure is heaven nothing that I cannot turn around. When I'm living in cooperation with the law of mind, the law of life, which is the law of unconditioned and unconditional love. That's why it's so hard. Because most of us are loving in conditional ways. We have expectations around what we love. We have expectations around whom we love. We're more loving at some times than we are at others. We're much more loving when you are living according to my wishes. We're much more loving, and we reward that. You're what I want you to be. I will reward that. I will give to that love. As soon as you stop doing that, I will take from that love. I will withdraw that love. I will deprive you of that love until you earn that love again. And by Jiminy Crickets, you're going to earn it. You're going to earn it. No freely giving stuff around here. That's what the egoic mind does, because the egoic mind is always afraid, always scared, always in fear of losing something or whatever, you see. But the divinity of ourselves, the divine aspect of ourselves, the essential beingness of ourselves is unconditioned and unconditional. You don't have to earn a thing. Not a thing. Doesn't matter how you show up, you will be loved. You will be received. You will be welcomed. That's what the divine aspect of our nature is all about. Doing no harm, non-judgment. Receiving all as the divine itself. Understanding that we can go beyond appearances because appearances are not the truth. And no matter how debauched and horrible and awful that person is, behind all of that is the glorious, magnificent life and spirit of the infinite itself in all of its glory. Never diminished in any way. Always pristine, perfect, and always whole and complete. Now, when you and I can get beyond appearances and begin to be able to see that first and foremostly within ourselves, and then we can see it in others, we are beginning to live as consciousness, and we are in cooperation with the law of mind as it is in action, in life and living, but most especially in each one of us. There's a sense sometimes that some of us are favored more than others. There's never been a person on this plane ever more favored than you are. None whatsoever. Not even the great ones. All are favored in the same way. All are called to higher consciousness, but few choose it. All are called, but few choose to respond. All are called to that high state of being. And so the favored ones, how do they seem to be favored? It's because they are absolutely in tune with that inner presence. They are in tune with that essential self of their being. They have touched the divinity that is within them. And because they have, they celebrate and contemplate the union they have with their source. They're always aware of the union that they have with their source. And they also invite and court back the presence that's always courting them. They embrace back the embrace that's always embracing them. And more than that, they lose themselves in awe and wonder of life in all of its aspects within themselves and outside of themselves. It's all awe and wonder. It is an amazing thing. That's how the ones that are favored seem to be favored, because of their choices in consciousness, their choices in energy and the way they feel. That's how it happens. That's the only way it happens. They choose to be in conscious contact with the source of their being, the provider of their good, the lover of their souls, and they are jazzed by it. They're thrilled by it. They're delighted by it. There's ne'er a shred of angst or fear in it. That's all dissolved and all gone. They are the ones, they're the first responders. When they respond to any life circumstances, it is always from faith and never from fear. They always come from faith, never from fear. They always know there's a pony in there somewhere. They always know that in the end it turns out right. They always know that good comes out of everything, no matter what. So they're always in a state of peace and joy, rejoicing and celebration no matter what. That's how they seem to be favored. There's no other reason. You can have what they have. You can have what they had. You can have what the future ones will have. Right here and right now. Simply by understanding that your life is determined by the thoughts that you think and the feelings you entertain. And that the future is indeed in your hands. The future is with you now, and it's given to you to grasp that, seize the day, and understand that my consciousness is always shaping my world. And that's the only thing that shapes my world, my consciousness. And let me tell you, when we come into the realization that the favored ones have come into, and it's yours and mine for the choosing, we will never ever have to treat for a demonstration again. We will never have to pray for any good again, because that comes automatically through that conscious living. It comes as a result of that. And we never have to, no matter what our desires and what our longings are and what good it is that we need, we never have to ask more of God, of good, of the Almighty good. Never ever again do we have to ask for more from our source, because there is no more. There's no more Source can give. Source has given it all to us. How has Source given it all to us? In the fact that each one of us are created as infinite, unlimited potential. That's what we're created as, and we're sitting on it. We are sitting on it, and we won't let it out. The quickest way to our good is to discover the hidden splendor and unleash it, let it out. That's the quickest way to our good. It's just like we have this bank account and it's loaded, it's full, it's vested, and it's always loaded, vested, and full, always. It's never diminished. But like anything else, to get that, to use that, to draw from that, I have to take myself to the bank and I have to withdraw what I want to use. Your unlimited infinite potential is the same. You have to show up and draw from it if you want to use it. Most of us don't use it. We're sitting on it. We've buried it like the fellow who buried his talent. We're not using it at all. And yet there it is, absolutely rampant within you, this amazing, unlimited, infinite potential. You are born rich. You are born with an endowment. You are born entitled. And yet, look at how we choose to live. We leave it all, we ignore it all, we let it all be. And then it goes to the government when we go on. The metaphysical government. We sit on it. Oh, just in case. I don't want to be short. You never know. And you see, you never know, and I just want to be short. You see, we are not responsible for every single negative thing that happens. We're not. We are not singularly responsible for the financial climate that the world finds itself in today, but we can give reality to it through negatively thinking about it, negatively conversing about it, negatively projecting about it. Then we can empower it. Then we can sustain it. Then we can keep it going longer and longer and longer than it need be, you see. So here's the thing. It's simple mathematics. Are you a plus person or are you a negative person? Are you on the side of affirmation? Are you on the side of negation? You see, most of us negate our lives. That's why we find ourselves in limited circumstances and situations. We don't have to. It's as simple as this. You know, if you have a plus mentality, if you have a plus mentality and you're growing your pluses and so on, you're multiplying your pluses and so on, you'll have a plus result. If you have a negative mentality, you are growing your minuses all of the time and you'll get a minus result. So plus and minus, which is it? This week you get to ask yourself the question, do I have a plus mentality? Do I have a minus mentality? And we need probably do a little switching around as a result of being honest with ourselves and seeing where we are in mind most of the time. 51% of the time is the majority. So if I'm 51% negative, woe is me. If I'm 51% of the time affirmative, life is a delight. Life is a delight. So our minuses are going to bring to us the erosion of our assets. Our pluses will bring to us compound interest. Oh, we love compound interest. Don't we love compound interest? So what is it to be, my dear ones? Because your destiny is in your own hands. Your future is in your own hands. It unfolds out of your consciousness. That's the way your future unfolds. What is it going to be? If it's going to be, it's up to me. Such true words. If it's going to be, it's up to me. What I think, what I say. And what I think and what I say and what I feel, all of that combines with how I am and what I do and what I produce in my life. You have the power, the presence is within you. You have that infinite, unlimited potential waiting your availability, wanting you to show up. The thing that the favored ones knew was that this thing called good, this thing called life, this thing called God was not only with them, but was in them, actively, dynamically in them. They knew that that good, that almighty good, that God was on their side, had a vested interest in them, supported them, wanted them to succeed, wanted them to be happy, wanted them to be healthy, wanted them to be successful, achieving, and all of those wonderful good things. They knew that without a shadow of a doubt. Nobody could convince them otherwise, that life was not on their side, that the universe did not support them, and that all was well. And all was well because right where they were was this infinite hidden splendor, this amazing dynamic, unlimited potential, unlimited infinite potential within them. And theirs was the privilege of giving birth to it. That's what they knew. Do you know that too? Yes. Do you want to live as though you know it? Because that's the question. When are you going to start living as though you know it? Oh, really? Because here's the thing. You're going to have to step up to the plate of being self-determined and self-responsible. You're going to have to start thinking in terms of unconditioned and unconditional. You're going to have to show up from the best of yourself, from the essential part of yourself. You're going to have to show up as life and light and love and peace and beauty and power and joy and wisdom and understanding and compassion and goodness and kindness. That's how you have to show up if you want to unleash your hidden splendor, if you want to release that infinite potential within you, if you want to glow and grow and have a great life, and in so doing, add to everybody else's great life around and about you. My goodness me, you'll be such a joy and such a blessing and such a grace to have around. People won't know you anymore. You won't even have to say a word, you'll just have to show up. And they'll feel better. Wherever you are, there'll be a blessing, there'll be a healing, there'll be a transformation. There'll be something good happening wherever you are because you're the good in yourself that's showing up. And this is doable. This is not pie in the sky. This is doable. But remember the words. Come to me, for I am with you, as I have always been, and I shall always be with you. Come to me, cast your burdens upon me, and I will relieve you and release you. Come to me, for my yoke is light and my burden is not heavy. Come to me. Here is where you unleash yourself, unburden yourself, unload yourself, and know that the truth of your being can set you free. Free to soar, free to realize the truth of your being, free to get up every morning and say, today is a celebration and I am its celebration of life. I am the divine enterprise in my day. I am what I am meant to be today, open and receptive to good, the outlet to good. I'm knowing for myself in this moment, every day of my life, what I'm knowing for everybody else, that God is and good is, and God is all there is, and there is only God. And where there is God, good, life, all is well. Is this what you want to know for yourself? Yes. When do you want to know it? So it is.